Greetings gamers everywhere, I'm Squippy92 and in this video I'm gonna be talking about Realm of Ink. This is a roguelike that has come out in early access. It came out on the 27th of September and it has currently, well, it has gotten a few additional updates and it's on its way to becoming something really great here, I think. Because this game has me stunned in some way and surprised in some others, but mostly it's a bit reminiscent of other roguelites as well. But what's most striking about the game is, of course, the art style. It's a beautiful art style. Everything looks like it's painted, like oil paintings or ink, I dare say. But it fits well with the name of the game, you can see that. But even incorporated, the ink thing is even incorporated into the game's lore, which is a very interesting thing because we have for example, ink gems, they're called. This is basically your ink skills or spells. You also have an ink companion or ink follower, whatever you want to call it, that follows you around and helps you in combat. They also gain a special kind of move set depending on what type of ink gems you have equipped, which is very interesting. These are also tied to different elements and such things. So far, I think the lore around the game is very interesting. It has a lot of ink-related things, and the whole world seems to be that. There's a lot more to the world, but I'll let you discover that for yourself. Now, let's get into the meat of the game, which is, of course, for most roguelikes, the combat. The combat is very Hades-like. It reminds me a lot of Hades, the roguelike game. It's fast, with enemies not dealing too much damage, but, you know, many hits makes health bar dead. What's interesting is that usually I only die from bosses, like once or twice maybe out of all the runs I've done. I have actually died from mobs. Most of the deaths comes from bosses, and mostly the third or final boss. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, let's talk about the spells. Now, spells are tied to two different buttons. You can have two at most. Therefore, it's tied to two buttons. And the amount of spells right now is a fair bit. There's a fair amount of them, but some feel a bit useless, even when upgraded to full, or upgraded even just a little bit during a run. I think more spells are of course needed, and it's early access, so there will probably be more spells added. Now, perks are also found during a run. These are at a good amount, but I say more would be nice. There's a lot more of a certain type of perks than others, it feels like sometimes. It feels like more defensive ones needs to be made, because right now there's no stat like defense or dodge even. You can dodge, sometimes you're lucky to dodge enemy projectiles or attacks, but I'm not sure if that's tied to your dodge dash ability or if that's just a random chance to dodge things. But anyway, moving on. We also have elixirs, which is permanent upgrades to your character during a run. These are to like health and damage and such. So yeah, those are a pretty good amount of. I don't think those need to be expanded much more, except if they want to add some like dodge chance or like armor things later on maybe. Now, all of these mechanics that I've mentioned, the combat, the spells, perks and all that, they blend well into the combat. There are several skins in the game, but the skins are what they act like classes basically. And all of them are very different in their style of light and heavy attacks. Like some are ranged, some are melee, some have longer range, some have shorter range, some are area based, some are single target, and so on. There's even one skin that are focused on your Ink companion to increase their damage and to make them stronger during a run, which is very interesting. Also, every time you defeat a chapter boss, the last boss of a chapter, you also gain a unique upgrade for your character that is depending on what type of skin or class you're using at the time. You have 3 different options between that you can choose, and then when you choose, then you kill the next chapter boss, you can choose between 3 others. So there's a lot of experimenting with both with the spells you can use, the classes that exist, and the upgrades you can choose from. Now, there is one unfortunate thing with all of these things, of course. Like many other games in this genre and other genres, like I'm thinking Diablo and some MMOs, I guess. It has a somewhat unbalanced damage system, because right now damage over time damage, or dot damage as I just call it, like fire, poison and bleed, those are the 3 things that you can inflict on enemies so that they take damage over time. This one is very overpowered. It's almost to the point of totally completely broken. Just as light attack, just use light attacks, and with perks that increases damage for dots and makes so that you can proc it more easily, like higher chance to actually give the enemies bleed, poison and such. If you just increase that damage, let's just say that spells with bleed and poison and such, and then increasing all the damage and then all of that thing, you're golden. You're gonna be golden for pretty much every difficulty there is so far. I'm guessing the amount of difficulties will increase, or they will make things harder somehow. But for now, yeah, I think there are 5 or 6 different difficulties, and with dot damage you can just not breeze through, but you can kill an entire room pretty efficiently. Now, the first difficulty can be done with, I wouldn't say any build, but a good range of different builds. But after the first difficulty, yeah, dot damage is king. Now, it's early access, so balance issues are they're expected, basically. They're very much expected. And I'm hoping to see a lot more viable builds in the later game. Now, I'm not looking for an end to all builds or like the build to rule them all, but I'm looking for at least have 2, 3, 4 different builds that can make it through to the end game, because right now it feels like there's only 1 or 2 different builds that can make it through past the second difficulty, and I don't like that. Another thing I'm kind of annoyed at, because of this fast-paced combat, there can be a lot of things happening during a boss fight. Now, some attacks from bosses are choreographed, or like there's a red circle or a red triangle, things like that, that will tell you, oh, there's gonna be an attack in this area, move away. Not all of them are like that though, and especially the fourth last boss, he can be a doozy, because there's so many things going on on the screen at the same time that I just become confused. I'm like, oh, now he's there. Oh, now he's up on top of me. Now I have to dodge away. Sometimes I have to dodge so much that I can't get an attack in. And he's usually the roadblock for me when experimenting with different builds. I can slaughter every enemy, every boss on the way there, and then he comes, and then I just get pounded. He's very annoying. And that, we come back to the builds thing, I guess. He's not overpowered when using a correct build, I guess you could call it, if you want to call it a correct build, but when using just an experimental build that just slaughters every enemy on the way, but then you come to him and he's just nope. He's much faster than any other boss in the entire game, except for the last boss, which is equally as fast as him, if not faster. So I think the difficulty between the bosses is very obvious, I guess you should call it. Anyway, I'm not gonna rant about that boss any longer. Let's move on to talk about what a normal run in this game would look like, because it's very similar to Hades in that, because all combat is in one room or arena, and every room has a reward for you at the end, a spell, perk, or elixir, or coins. And after clearing a room and exiting the room, you get to choose between different rooms and with different rewards. Now, some rooms are purple, the Trial Valley and Foe Forge, they're called for now. Maybe they'll add some other fun things with that, but those are the two for now. And these give a little bit more of a reward. They give, normally they give 3 different rewards in each of those. And those will pop up on occasion in each level, I should say. You have the first level, then the second level, and third level, and fourth level, and then the last boss. Now, some Trial Valley rooms, especially on level 3 and 4, they can be really tough because there's a lot of enemies, plus trap-like mechanics where arrows are flying at you, or big things or swirling things are following you around the room. So there's gonna be a lot of things thrown at you at the same time. So yeah, step lightly and dodge, 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 dodge. Now, each chapter or level consists of a few rooms, two store areas where you can upgrade your spells, buy food to restore health, plus the food also gives a small bonus to some stats like defense or damage take 10% less damage taken, or some more damage to ink spells, more damage to light attacks, and so on. But there's also a normal shop kind of thing where you use the coins that you collect, and here you can buy perks, which differ in rarity. You have common, rare, epic, and legendary. I have never seen a legendary in the shop though, I think. Plenty of epics and rare, but never a legendary. Not sure he can sell those. Oh, and each chapter also has 2 bosses. There's one like mini boss area, and then there's the main chapter boss, which has lines to it. The game is actually voiced. There's voice actor to the game, and I have it in original voice acting, so it's Mandarin or some Chinese dialect. Not sure which one, but it's very nicely voice acted. I like that. Now, the gameplay loop is satisfying enough. There's enough different skins and builds to try, at least, plus achievements to earn. So there is plenty of things to do in the game for now. And now, of course, more is always welcomed, but there's also a skill tree available after a run where you invest fox blood, they call it. But there's plenty of things to spec into the skill tree, but once it's full, well, it's full. There's nothing more you can use the fox blood for, so I'm hoping they do something with that. Now, something else is that's a little bit. It's very reminiscent of Hades here as well, because it's very repetitive environments and bosses, and after a few rounds you just it's all the same thing, especially those first 4 bosses, I would say, because those are very easy, I would argue. They are very easy. Very basic moveset, very easy to dodge. Maybe you take some damage, but I have never died from any of them. I've never been even close to dying. Maybe once from the fourth boss, but they're so easy. It's just it's almost annoying to go through it. No, it's not, but it's fun if you're doing a new build, but if you're doing the same build and you happen to get the same spells and all that, it's a bit repetitive. Although, of course, I am very interested in what they will be doing for the future, what the developers will think of for the game, because there's so much potential here, and the game is already very good, so I mean, I can't complain here. As I said, there's a few smaller balance updates have been rolling out, but the game was just released, and yeah, I mean, there's always more where that came from, right? I think the game has been selling quite well, but there's plenty of reviews on their Steam page, and people are liking it very much. Right now, it's sitting at 91% positive, actually. That's pretty impressive. At almost 1,000 reviews. Last time I looked, it was 500. Very impressive indeed. Well, I've been Swippy92. Have a great life and hope to see you in future videos. If you have played the game, what are your thoughts? Put it in the comments. Bye bye.